What's going on, everybody? Joe Munoz, MunozMission.com, where I'm on a mission to help you get your life off of autopilot. Okay, if you don't know, I am an airline pilot. I own a flight school. In fact, I'm actually shooting this very video inside of one of the classrooms here at the Flight Academy, where we host not only pilot training courses, but also personal finance, money courses, and also communication, mental fortitude, and all things that I talk about at MunozMission.com. Now, in this video, I want to talk to you about something that I recently did at my primary residence called a cash out refi, or a cash out refinance. Cash out refi is short for cash out refinance, and it basically means I refinanced my primary residence, my home where I live, and I took cash out of the equity. So I ended up with, okay, and I'm going to explain all of this, so bear with me here. I ended up with $17,000 cash. It was actually more like $17,645 to be exact, something to that effect. I'm saving $300 a month on my mortgage payment, and my interest rate went down to 2.75%, which is historic lows. And really, this was the reason I decided to go ahead and do a cash out refinance. Now, before I go into detail on why I did this, how I did it, and why I believe everybody should do this and take advantage of the opportunity right now amidst the chaotic COVID pandemic, okay? That is also, if you got your eyes screwed in properly and your head on a swivel, there's opportunity, okay? There's always opportunity in the midst of problem and chaos, but you got to be looking for it, so I want to help you with that. Now, with this, I want to first share something with you. I am always looking in both my personal and professional, both the business and my personal finance, to do something called increasing margins, which basically means if this is the income, I'm going to use arbitrary made-up numbers. Let's say that you produce $8,000 a month. This is how much income comes in, okay, net. You pay all your taxes, you pay Uncle Sam, and you end up with $8,000 at the end of it. And then if your expenses, okay, every month are, let's say, $5,000, right? The difference here between $8,000 and $5,000 is what's referred to as margin. And of course, $8,000 minus 5 leaves me with $3,000. So you're doing quite well, saving some income here. But the objective always is to separate these two lines, right? I want to drop expenses by cutting unnecessary things like luxury car payments, unlimited data on your phone that perhaps you don't even need, going out to eat, lots of different, going out for drinks, right? Every weekend, every Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. Where you can cut, including your mortgage payment, okay? You want to drop this number and you want to produce at a high level. So always, you'll hear me inside the personal finance programs available at MunozMission.com. Aim to have a production over consumption mentality. That means produce high, consume low, and then we take this extra money and we invest it for cash flow. You like that? Okay, so produce high, consume low, take the excess capital and invest for cash flow. Now, let's talk about why I did this cash out refinance, how I did it, and why I believe everybody amidst this pandemic should take advantage of these historic low interest rates, folks. We've never seen interest rates this low. 2.75%, they're handing out money. They're just handing it out. Free money for everybody up in here. Okay, so here's the deal. I purchased this primary residence. Okay, I'm going to be extremely transparent. I purchased this in 2015 for a price tag of $229,000. Okay, $229,000 is what I purchased my primary residence for. By the way, I purchased it well below what I could actually afford, so as to always ensure my mortgage payment was less than 30% of my income. If I'm losing you there, don't worry. It's in the personal finance program at MunozMission.com, but basically, here's what you want to know. Live below your means. If you can afford a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 home, don't go to what you can afford because you don't want to be, I'm choking. You don't want to be suffocating for air. So the deal is now, in the year 2020, worth $300,000. Now, because I've been paying down this debt over the last 5 years, my total mortgage, or my total outstanding debt still due, the balance, was $185,000. Now, if you do quick math on this, and let's say that you sell the property for $300,000, you pay the bank off $185,000. Of course, factoring in any sales commission to the realtor, etc., the broker, right? But roughly, you're looking at $115,000 of profit, which is 300 minus the 185 gives me the 115. So I have $115,000 of equity that is essentially sitting dead. This is money that you could use, you could put to work. And I needed to get some of this money out. So what I did was I did something called a cash out refinance. Now, what that means is I refinanced the loan. This original loan, $185,000, was at a 4.1% interest rate. So I went to a new lender, a new bank, and I said, I would like to finance this debt that I have, which is $185,000, and I would prefer better terms, which are existent because of the COVID pandemic. They have historic lows on interest rates, assuming you have good credit, which if you don't, okay, you need to get into the personal finance program, which has all types of content on how to build good credit. So I get this historic low interest rate, right? And because I have $115,000 of equity, I could even tell the lender, hey, don't give me a loan for $185,000, give me a loan for $215,000 or $210,000. I can actually take a loan for more than what my original loan is because I have equity, I have an asset, this property, which is worth more, $300,000, than the actual loan itself. So I can actually borrow more money against it, and that's exactly what I did. Now, most people would do this and then utilize those funds to do things that they should not be doing, like going on vacations, buying luxury cars, and doing other stupid stuff that pays you nothing. But now what we're gonna do is take that cash and invest it for cash flow. And I'm gonna take you there in just a minute. But before I do, let's recap for just a second. I want you to understand that I purchased the property for $229,000. I put a 10% down payment. It brought the loan amount down to $199,000. I paid it off over the last I paid it down, I should say, over the last 5 years, bringing my loan to $185,000. And because the property appreciated, meaning it went up in value over time, it's now worth $300,000, which means I have $115,000 of unrealized equity, of unrealized money. Unrealized means right now it's not real cash because I haven't sold the deal, but if I were to sell the deal, this is what I would expect to receive. By doing a refinance with this setup, I was actually able to request additional money against this property because I have this equity in it. So the new terms of the loan look like this. I now have a loan on this deal, okay, on this property, which the property itself is still worth $300,000. My new loan is $185,000 plus the $17,000 that I took as cash out. And of course, they throw in some closing costs. So my new loan now looks to be about $215,000. But if you look, I still have equity in the property. $300,000 is the value, $215,000 is a loan. So if I were to go and sell this deal right now, I would still expect to profit $85,000. And because I still have this much equity in the deal, in the property, it's fair to say that this asset, this property, is not over leveraged, meaning it doesn't have too much loan to value, right? Over leveraged would be a loan amount of $295,000 and the property's worth $300,000, because as you can see now, if the market dips, which I suspect it probably will after this election and after the COVID pandemic starts to subside, if you will, we're going to begin to see what I suspect to be a little bit of a decline in the housing market just because of the way the economics and the current state of the economy is, with a lot of people out of work. There's a lot of mortgage forbearance deferment being put off, and of course we have programs such as the stimulus plans because of the pandemic that are going to be running out, and at which point people are going to have to begin making payments. They're not going to be able to, unfortunately, and with that comes home foreclosures and that type of thing. So I suspect the market will begin to dip, prices are going to begin to go down, but what you don't want to do is have a loan amount that's too close to the actual value of the asset, because if this starts to go down and this asset now goes to a value of, say, $250,000, but your loan is more than the value, you're upside down. And that's a very, very, very bad place to be, and you don't want to be there. So you certainly don't want to over leverage. And this is why, even though I could have taken more money out because I had 115,000, right? I only took out 17 so that the value of the asset at 300,000 and the new loan amount at 215,000 allows for some decline in price, and I'm still with positive equity. Hence, I'm not over leveraged. You do not want to over leverage a property, right? So now, let's continue to move on with this, and let's see some of the other terms, okay? My mortgage payment originally was $1,700. Now, one way that you can always reduce payments, whether a mortgage, a car, a motorcycle, a boat, anything, is extend the term, meaning add years to the mortgage. And a lot of people will probably argue me on this and say, well, I don't want to extend the term, but remember what the objective is, to always increase margins, right? So if the payment is $1,700, and of course I purchased the property in 2015, I've been paying it for 5 years, and most residential mortgages, that means your home loans, are 30-year loans, right? So a 30-year loan, fixed rate, minus the 5 years that I've been paying it, leaves me at 25 years left to pay this loan. But I actually took this 25 years, and with my new loan, I went back to 30 years and reset it. And by adding back another 5 years, I was able to reduce this monthly payment $300. So now my monthly payment is $1,400 a month. So I was able to reduce my monthly payment. Now this is great news. One, it's great news because it increases my margins, because it reduces my expenses. You still with me? I'm reducing my monthly outgoing money every single month. And here's the even better part, is that this property, which I will rent in the not so distant future, I will rent this property. So by reducing the monthly payment to the bank, I will keep more profit and increase the income side. So let's look at the margins. You can notice now, this is why from the beginning of this very video, I was talking about margins and increasing them, right? So let's go back to that. If this is my income over here, and my income was $8,000, and my expenses, I think I said was $5,000, right? So let's go 8,000 up top. Expenses are at $5,000, and we said that the difference now is $3,000, right? Well, I have now reduced my expenses by $300. So now my expenses are $4,700, which moves my line down, increasing my margins to $3,300. And the objective is going to be to rent this property, and the rental price on this property is very easily $2,100. So the $2,100 coming in minus the $1,400 that goes to the bank leaves me with a $700 profit. Now the $700 profit, of course, I still have to pay an HOA, okay, and set aside a little bit of money for maintenance. So let's say the HOA is $200, which is about right. I'm going to profit $500. Now this $500 gets added to my income line over here. So now I have $8,500 of money coming in, right? Money coming in. And my expenses, of course, you're going to move to a new place. Hopefully you still keep your expenses low, and you're going to maintain your expenses as low as you can and continue this process over and over. Rinse, repeat, recycle, or maybe it's rinse, recycle, repeat. Whatever it is, you're going to do it over and over again, okay? And you're going to continue to spread these lines out, ultimately leading you not to retirement but to financial freedom. And this is everything I teach in the personal finance program over at MunozMission.com. Now let's keep going, because remember, this was $300 a month. This is a better interest rate, but we still got to talk about the $17,000. So now I've got this $17,000 cash. And what do I do with this $17,000 cash, right? Well, I have a stockpile of capital, a stockpile of cash that I've been setting aside into a separate sacred account. And this excess capital here, I very highly recommend it should equal 40% of your income. I talk more about that in the personal finance program, MunozMission.com. I'll see you there, okay? You take this money, you sock it away, you stack it away, you stash the cash flow, Joe Money Munoz. You stack that money away, and you take that lump sum of cash, right? And you add on another $17,000 to it. Now, what do you do with this money? You take that $17,000 and you go out and buy another property. And particularly right now, having cash, money, having dry gunpowder is a good thing, because if the markets decline, the real estate markets decline, which I suspect they likely will, particularly in the residential housing market. This is not about commercial, 5 units or more in terms of apartment buildings. This is not retail, but I'm talking about single door residential homes, apartments, townhome, condominium, that kind of thing. If you're looking for those kinds of investments, you have capital now. And even if you're not, you have capital now. Whatever investment you're looking for, you have capital now. So you basically want some money that you can take to invest it into something. Now, in my particular case, I'm going to invest it into a multi-family apartment complex. So this multi-family apartment complex, one of the ones I'm looking at right now is a 6-unit deal. Okay, requires a down payment of 25%. We're going to use 75% leverage, meaning 75% of the value of the property is going to be a loan. And this deal produces X amount of dollars. To maintain it and run it, it's going to be Y amount, typically 40%, right? And the difference is profit, which I'm going to do what? This margin, everything is about margin, folks. Take that money, save it, just like I do in my personal life here, ball it all up into another stockpile of capital and move it into yet another building, right? And we're going to rinse, repeat, and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. So the cash out refinance, folks, is very simple. I had equity in the house. I had a good enough credit score to improve the interest rate. And because I was already paying that loan for the last 5 years, I had the option to extend it back to 30 years. Now, some people will say, why would you extend it back to 30 years if you only have 25 now? It's like you're making your loan longer. Why would you want to have to pay your loan longer? Well, the fact of the matter is, if I rent the place, I'm not paying the loan, okay? The tenant is paying the loan. So it doesn't matter if it goes back out. What matters is that I lower the monthly payment so that I can increase my profit, right? Again, margin. How much money comes in, how much money goes out. I need to increase that profit margin. That's the main concern. Number one. Number two, even think about this. Maybe you do hold that property for 30 years. Maybe you don't. When you go sell it, the buyer is going to pay off that loan, whether it's 25 years, whether it's 28 years, whether it's 30 years, or whether it's 10 years. It doesn't matter. Buyer's going to pay it, number one. Number two, if you rent it, the renter is going to pay the loan. So you're never going to pay the loan anyways. So the argument about why extend it back to 30 years, it's because I'm not going to pay it. And neither would you if you followed this exact scenario. So that's the reason I went back to 30 years. Increase profit margin and look to secure a higher margin. That $17,000 cash does not go to a vacation. It does not go to a down payment on a Mercedes or a Porsche or a Ferrari or buying something stupid that has no return. You use it to park it in an asset that produces cash flow, and you do this process over and over again. Okay? Rinse, recycle, repeat. Something like that. It sounds good enough. Okay? All right. And of course, right now with COVID, 2.75 interest rate is historic lows, folks. Interest rates have never been any lower than that. So I very highly recommend, if you have a property with equity, I would certainly look to refinance. Even if you don't extend the term back to 30 years because maybe you're not looking to rent it like it is in my case, certainly go back and refinance if you have a good enough credit score and you can reduce that interest rate a significant amount, that even that alone would impact your monthly payment and of course would save you some money. And well, who doesn't want to save some money? Look, so many people are suffering from bad data, specifically bad financial data. They don't know how to manage money. And they don't know, once they get the money, what to do with the money. So they don't even, it's the 3 M's, making it, managing, and multiplying it. They don't know how to make the money. They don't know how to manage it. And well, they can't multiply it because not only do they not know how, but they haven't figured out the first two. And I want to help you with this. They didn't teach it to you in schools, folks, but I want to teach it to you. I went looking for this after my family has moved 9 times because of job losses. And what I have sought out to do is to ensure that a single job loss, a single loss of income, you need multiple flows of income. A single flow of income, like a job, will never dictate what happens with the rest of my life. And I want that to be not only for me, but for everybody, for you watching. And if more people had the financial data that I know I can share, people would just be a lot less stressed, at least certainly because of their finances. All right, I'm on a mission to help you. Please let me help you. MunozMission.com is a website. Let's get your life off of autopilot. Let's get you the flight plan, though. You need to know A to B, how you're going, where you're going, and how to get there. I want to get you mission-minded with goals, targets, with the proper flight plan and blueprint to help you help yourself. MunozMission.com. Joe Munoz the name. I'll see you there.